Good day and Assalamualaikum. I am Nor Antipoles and I'm going to discuss the instructional planning cycle. And for the instructional planning models for teaching English will be discussed by 𝐋𝐀𝐍𝐆𝐔𝐀𝐆𝐿 and 𝐿 And for the thematic approach to instructional planning will be discussed by Dorcel Sandigan and Jorhan Talutawan. So before I'm going to discuss the instructional planning cycle, let me introduce the learning objective first. So in this lesson, you will be able to identify the instructional planning cycle, explain how the planning cycle plays in the planning for instruction, and explore implementation techniques at each stage of cycle. So the planning for instruction, as I mentioned in previous chapter, is one of the fundamental skills of a teacher. Therefore, it is important for the teacher to make sure that his or her plans for instruction are well thought of. The process is adopted from the Understanding by Design framework. So number one, learning objective. At this stage, number one, learning objectives. At this stage, the teacher is compelled to ask, what should I teach my learner? This can be skills, knowledge, or values found in the curriculum document. This can also be a big concept or idea that need to be learned or mastered by the learners. So number two, assessment strategies. After the teacher decides on the objectives, he or she now needs to identify how can the learner demonstrate their understanding or achievement of learning objective. So number three, instructional activities. At this stage, the teacher now begin to think about how to teach her or his learners. Here, the teacher will now plan the teaching strategies and learning activities that will be used in the classroom. So number four is reflection. After the implementation of instructional planning, the teacher then reflect about her or his teaching. At this stage, the teacher review that happened at the implementation of the plan. This involved the reaction of the learner with the strategies, the result of the assessment, and the learners who struggled with the activities or assessment. The teacher can use data from this observation to make judgment and improve the next instructional plan. So that's for the lesson 6.
Good day to each and everyone. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. I am Muhajirin Esakilan. In this video presentation, we will learn the lesson 7. The title is The Instructional Planning Models for Teaching English. One of the major skills a teacher needs to learn is to plan for his or her class instructions. Instructional planning plays key roles in the success of the teacher in the classroom. That is why teachers should learn how to provide instruction to the learners to make sure that expected learning will be achieved. These are learning outcomes. Objectives. In this lesson, you will be able to identify various instructional planning models used in teaching English. Compare instructional planning models, identify and adapt a model in designing one's own instructional planning. So, instruction is purposeful direction of the learning process. There are numerous instructional planning models, but we will discuss 3 of them. First instructional planning model is ADDIE. So, what is ADDIE means? ADDIE is health instructor. The instructional design and training specialist plan and create instruction. It is used also to create all kind of instructor from teaching elementary, secondary, and college students about different objectives. This model is the popular because its simplicity and practicality. ADDIE is have a 5-step instruction model, which is analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Analysis is step is where instructional goals and objectives are established, the learning environment is also determined, and the learner's existing skills and knowledge are identified. So, when planning instruction is extremely helpful to understand the first, your learners need, attitude, current knowledge, learning style, and abilities. Another to analyze to expected learning outcomes or what the students should be able to do when instruction is completed. So, always remember the three domains: the cognitive, the effectiveness, and the psychomotors. Number 2, design. The design phases deal with creating outlines of the instructions. The design phase is where you take all the learning of the previous phase and use it to make practical decisions. So, from analyzing now, you are creating an outline of instructions. Number 3, development. The development phase is where activities, material, media, and another content necessary to deliver the instructions based on the design phase are put together. Number 4, the implementation. During the implementation phase, the instruction is given to the learners, and the teacher should take some time to observe how the learners react to the instruction provided to them. Number 5, evaluation. After the summative or formative assessment, the teacher looks the learner's score result and the notes that were taken during the implementation phases. So that's all. Thank you.
This is the continuation of the lesson 7. 𝐾𝐀 design model. The 𝐾𝐀 design model, also known as the Morrison-Ross and 𝐾𝐀 model, follows a circular structure, and each element should be taken as independent elements. One advantage of this model is the teacher and instructional designers are given the flexibility to begin the design process from any of elements rather than work in linear fashion or as would other models. Satisfaction, as there is a direct relation between motivation and satisfaction. The learners should have a sense of success and fulfillment after achieving their learning goals and objectives during the learning process. The 𝐾𝐀 model has 9 elements. Instructional problems determine to a specific goal and identify the instructional issues that could arise. Learning characteristics identify the traits and characteristics as learners that should be taken into consideration in the planning process. Task and analysis make course content clear and analyze the proposed task components in relation to the goals and purpose of the course. Instructional objectives define the instructional objectives and design learning outcomes. Content sequencing ensure the instructional content are structured sequentially, and logically. Instructional strategies design the instructional strategies in such a way that individual learners would be able to learn the content and attain the learning outcomes. Designing the message, plan the instructional message and the appropriate mode of delivery. Rather than focusing on step to the take in the development of the instructional plan, the model provides components. ARC has 4 components. Instructional delivery: develop the necessary instruments in order to effectively achieve the instructional goals and objectives, taking into consideration the materials available to the teacher. Evaluation instruments: design the development of the appropriate formative and summative assessments to determine whether the instructional goals and objectives were attained. Instructional delivery: develop the necessary instruments in order to effectively achieve the instructional goals and objectives, taking into consideration the materials available to teacher. ARCS model. The ARC model is developed by John Keeler in the 1980s. The model's unique feature is that it focuses more on the motivation of the learners, ensuring that they are kept engaged during instruction rather than focusing on steps to take in the development of the instructional plan. The model provides components. ARCS has 4 components. The first components of ARCR is attention. This refers to the interest of the learners. This is a critical part of the model. It is the initial hook of the learner's attention. Relevance: these components refer to the usefulness of the learning contents so that the learners could create a connection between it and the real world. Confidence: this component develops the expectation of success and progress among the learners and the same time give the learners the opportunity to control their learning process. This is important as the learners will have rote estimation of their probability of success in the conduct of instruction. Satisfaction: as there is a direct correlation between motivation and satisfaction. The learners should have a sense of success and fulfillment after achieving their learning goals and objectives during the learning process.
Okay, so good morning everyone. And I'm Sandigan Norsid P, BA3303. So my assigned topic is thematic approach to instructional planning. Lesson 8. Okay, so this is a lesson 8. Okay, so I will read the objectives in this lesson. Okay. In this lesson, you will be able to identify the steps to implement thematic approach to planning. Design an instructional plan using the thematic approach and understand the value of the use of thematic approach to instructional planning. Okay, so that is the objectives. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay. Thematic approach is the way of teaching and learning where many areas of the curriculum are connected together. Okay. and integrated within a thematic approach to instruction is a powerful tool for integrating the curriculum and eliminating isolated and reductionist nature of teaching. It allows learning to be more. Okay, so halimbawa dito sa thematic approach is the curriculum at connected service. Yung science subject na simula elementary pinag-aaralan na natin hanggang college. Okay, sa high school, meron tayong physics, meron tayong biology, physics, and chemistry. And which is the connected to science. Hinati-hati lang siya, which is the fused subject. Okay, so kahit na biology, chemistry, at physics, science pa rin siya. So, connected subject. Okay, so let's proceed. Thematic instruction, also called the project approach, involves organizing the curriculum around them for a rich and engaging topic that crosses all learning domains. For example, math, okay, yun, science, art, social skills, fine and gross motor skills, and receptive and expensive language development. Okay, so yun yung sinasabi ko. Math, science, art, social skills, fine. Okay, yan yung mga subject na hanggang college mapapag-aralan natin. Which is diffuse subject. Hinati-hati lang. Iniba lang yung mga title. So let's proceed to thematic teaching. Okay. Thematic teaching, also known as thematic instruction, is the selecting and highlighting of a theme through an instructional unit or module. Module courses or multiple courses. It is often interdisciplinary, highlighting the relationship of knowledge across academic disciplines in everyday life. Okay, so the purpose of thematic teaching. Thematic instruction seeks to put the teaching of cognitive skills such as reading, mathematics, science, and writing in the context of real world subject that is both specific enough to be practical and broad enough to allow creative exploration. So, teaching of cognitive skills such as the reading, mathematics, science. Okay, so the mathematics and science ang pinakamalawak na subject. Pinakamalawak na subject yung dalawa. Kasi elementary mula college, mapapag-aralan mo talaga to. At sa everyday life, nagagamit natin ito. Okay. Kahit saan tayo pupunta, nandyan si mathematics, science, kahit sa magbibili tayo, magagamit mo na yung mathematics. Okay. So, let's proceed. Choosing a theme. This is where the teacher or even the learners decide what would be the focus theme of the unit or lesson. This can be small concepts such as family, climate, the beach, then to larger, more integrated concept such as the community atmosphere and ecosystem. Sources of them would be the national curriculum itself, special or local occasion, children's interest, or around stories or books. Okay. So the example of thematic concept, and the thematic concept of a romance novel might be love, and depending on what happens in the story. Its thematic statement might be that love is blind. Okay, so an example of thematic concept. Love is blind, or that you can't buy love. Okay, so themes are almost never stated explicitly. Okay. So that's all. So the next chapter is continued by next reporter. Thank you.
So this is the continuation of Lesson 8. Integrating the theme of exciting curriculum. Upon choosing the theme, the teacher needs to recognize the learning objective of the curriculum around the theme. This would involve determining which concept from the learning areas could supplement the theme. For instance, a story from around which a theme of community is derived could be supplemented by social studies, values education, and mathematics. So, upon choosing them, the teacher needs to recognize the learning objective of curriculum around them. Designing instructional plan. As you have learned in the previous lesson, instructional planning involves several elements. At this stage, thematic instructional planning usually involves making adjustment in these elements, especially making appropriate choices of learning strategies, activities, experiences, and learning materials related to them. Some questions to ponder at this stage could be: which areas of spoken and written vocabulary can I and my learners work for spelling with this them? Number 2 is, which are the grammar could be accommodate with the them? Number 3 is, what genres of writing could be learners write in using the them as the starting point? Number 3 is, in what way can learn and I make them have a visual impact in the classroom? Encourage presentation. As the thematic approach is graded towards the holistic and context-oriented, it must more meaningful of the learners if they could be given the opportunities to present their work. It could be done collectively or individually, depending on the them or the presentation of the learners. Furthermore, an audience may not only be limited in the classroom. Presentation of their learning outputs could involve the rest of the school, the community in general, or the power of the internet, the rest of the world. So, as a thematic approach is geared towards holistic in the context-oriented, it is much more meaningful to the learners if they could give an opportunity to present their work. The thematic approach to instructional planning poses advantage as an instructional approach to teaching English in elementary years, other than presenting the language learning in much larger context, where the learner can see the knowledge they learn in a larger, more relevant context. They can also see the relationship of the concept across time, place, and disciplines. This approach can also use with other pedagogies and standards used by various disciplines such as place-based education, project-based learning, and cooperative learning. Furthermore, careful section of them can help make complex information more manageable ideas revolving around them. So other plan presenting the language learning in much larger context, where learners can see the knowledge they learn in a larger, more relevant context. They can also see the relationship of this concept across time, place, and discipline.